the BattleTech live stream developer Q&A. That's all the words, right? From Harebrained Schemes Studios in disgustingly dull and boring Kirkland, Washington, outside of Seattle. I am Mitch Gittleman, your host. With me right here is Ryan Burrell, Red Menace on the forums, one of our designers here. And just to make sure everybody understands the format of this show, the way it works is for the very first half of the show, we're taking questions that were put up on BattleTechGame.com for Ryan, and we'll be talking to him about his experience as a game developer and designer here at Harebrained Schemes. Then in the second half hour, McCain will come in, our game director, join me and Ryan, and we'll take your questions live from chat. Everybody got that? I'm going to wait for my response. All right, good. And the reason these bottles are here is I don't freaking know. Do you understand this at all?
I don't.
All right.
It's free
Robin
soda,
said drink soda, and so we'll drink soda. I think that if you backed us with, you gave us money on the Bagel Fund, that sometimes we buy soda too. So here we have Diet Root Beer. I'm done with this part of the show. Shall we move on with professional show business and an interview with Ryan Red Menace Burrell? Good. Then I go to our questions. Thank you for putting them up. Really appreciate it. Here we go. Ryan Burrell.
Yes.
What is your background in game development?
I came to game development by way of doing web design and development for a while, and then transferred into doing some initial UI stuff for games for the Nintendo DS and 3DS.
Neat.
Did some mobile stuff.
Did you meet Miyamoto?
No, unfortunately not.
All right.
These were all charitably called third-party games. So
have you met Jordan Weissman?
I have.
He's just like Miyamoto, am I right?
Yeah, no, just completely 100% just mirror image.
All right, so you did some Nintendo stuff, then what?
And then started doing some mobile stuff as well. Worked on some indie things. Also helped curate the Indie Mega Booth.
Right.
So for if anyone out there has ever been to a PAX, you probably know what that is.
Go indie. Tell them what it is, though, real fast.
So the Indie Mega Booth started 5 years ago now.
Right.
It was things were very different then, and that was the thing where it's really
game development, man.
Yeah, but it was really hard for independent developers, even of like our size here, to get floor space that was out in kind of in the main area where people were going.
Yeah, as an indie, I can tell you,
Yeah. Expensive, hard to do. So anyway, it was a group of about 16 developers that banded together to buy floor space to get down in the middle of everything.
It's like collective bargaining.
Basically. And then everything just kind of exploded from there. And
That's
so now
great.
it's at PAX East, PAX West, does the thing at GDC, tends to go overseas once a year.
Do you still work with the Mega Booth?
I do, kind of as a volunteer
on my nickel?
basis.
Do I pay you to do that?
No, certainly no,
sir.
No.
Oh, like on your copious spare time, which I have given you none of. Except to raise your children, just enough.
Exactly.
Just
and
enough.
It's a good thing I only have one child because
children is perhaps wishful thinking on my part.
Yeah,
because I love the kids.
Right.
I'm moving on with more questions.
Okay, go for it.
All right, so how did you get your job at HBS then?
I don't know. How did I get my job at HBS?
Actually, you worked on our website.
I did.
That's how I met you.
Yeah, it was actually through someone who works in the Mega Booth, friend of a friend. Ran a indie meetup that's here in Seattle.
Christopher Floyd.
Correct. And then I believe it was McCain and then Chris Rogers had come down to one of those events. Chris, good friend, great benefactor, knew that I was looking for a job and was like, hey, you should talk to this guy about things.
He's a power broker.
Yes, power broker, shadow power broker. And so anyway, my kind of initial foot in the door was to redo the Harebrained Schemes website, and then it kind of went from there.
You don't suck. Why not? Yeah, I actually met Ryan last E3.
GDC.
Right. GDC.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Last GDC. And I actually kind of interviewed him on the floor of GDC, just right then and there with crowds going by.
You were at the Mix event showing in Acropolis at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we had a mini interview right there on the floor. I'm like, okay, this guy isn't a Yahoo. And then we actually, because you lived in Missouri, we did a Skype interview.
Yeah, I'm from Missouri.
Show me.
By the way. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Obscure part of Missouri as well. So
You're one of the only people that has ever come from another state to work at Harebrained Schemes, since relocation is not something we can really afford. So the question I have is, what is the big difference between Missouri and Seattle?
the one? I don't,
well, for you.
For me, it's... I mean, just geographically, we didn't know a whole lot of people out here, and so that's been kind of the big difference. But I mean, weather is obviously a huge one. Everyone jokes about the weather other places, and it's like, oh, well, just wait a minute and it'll change.
Right.
That is truly the case in Missouri. It will
5 minutes from now, it's going to be glorious and sunny.
Yeah, but in Missouri, it's a thing where, like, we've had tornadoes in November, we've had snow in April. It has happened.
So this is nothing for you.
No, this
all right. So what was your entry like into Harebrained Schemes? Were you welcomed with open arms, or
it has been super smooth, and this is hands down the best place I've ever worked at, and everyone is like super. Well,
you're talking into a microphone.
Yeah, I know, it's been recorded for posterity.
More like posterior, but keep going.
Yeah, everyone has been super nice and real easy to work with, and
you're actually listened to.
Oh yeah.
That's a good thing for a designer.
Yeah, it helps in things sometimes.
Like instead of shouting into the wind.
Right.
Yeah, that would be hell. All right, let's see. Well, when did you just realize that you wanted to be a designer?
I mean, I like many people, always grew up playing games in one form or another.
Yeah.
It was console PC. It's kind of one of those things where, like, I always thought it'd be really cool to be a work in games. I don't know what that meant. I remember, like, the Nintendo Power magazines that had, like, the ad in the back. It's like, you could be a game tester.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
You don't want that. Not at Nintendo.
Game testers are such a super undervalued group of people.
We value them here.
Oh, yes.
There are places out there, I won't name any names, where they're just treated like monkeys and thrown at a problem, like just in hundreds. Anyway,
the mythical man month.
That's right.
But anyway, so I mean, I never really thought I would have the option to do that. So going to college, I was trying to find something that was in the same creative space. Yeah. And so I was kind of thinking, well, I'll do something with web design, app development, that kind of thing. And then I kind of fell into it. And
well, that's actually a great question, because I get asked this all the time. How do you get... Actually, it was on BattleTechGame.com in the
I've seen a few posts
section.
Yeah.
You know, the tough part is, if you're an engineer... It's like, oh, you go to school to be an engineer, and maybe even go to DigiPen or the Academy of Interactive Entertainment here in Seattle, and learn how to be a game engineer. Okay, great. Be an artist. Okay, clear path for artist. For designers, not so much.
It's only been in the last decade, I think, is even being charitable. There have even been game design programs, like a degree thing that you can pursue. But even at that, I don't mean to... disparage anyone who is taking a game design degree thing. I think that's valuable, and I think there's a lot that you learn about thinking analytically and problem solving that could be applicable to anything if you're trying to design a game. Right. But it's a really, even here we have a very high number proportionally of designers to the rest of the team that I think is true in a lot of other even bigger studios. So it's a thing where there's just not, probably for the best, that many of us that are needed.
Oh, there's plenty of chefs in this damn kitchen.
Yeah. Too many cooks. And
and by the way, what I say all the time on here is like, two BattleTech fans, 3 opinions. When it comes to designers, it's 2 designers, five opinions.
And I think that's even low.
Yeah, sometimes. And they're strong opinions.
Right. Yeah. And even against yourself, where you can have
opinions. I could see this in 12 different ways.
Yes, exactly.
Let me write you a Google Doc.
That is the strength and the weakness of a good designer.
So how do you suggest somebody, prepare themselves to become a designer in the industry?
I think it's going to sound really cliche, but the first and maybe best thing that anyone can do is just to do something. Analysis paralysis is very much a thing where, like, there is no clear path to become a game designer, like you had just said. Yeah. So I think the best thing anyone can do is to make a thing, and whether that's a using some sort of a modding kit. So for instance, for everyone out there, my interview process was to make a mission using the Shadowrun Dragonfall editor. Right. And I've heard tell that there are other studios that actually use the Shadowrun Dragonfall editor to...
Oh, that's cool. I'm glad that we could help in that service.
And not get paid for it in any way at all.
I don't care. No, I really don't. My level of altruism goes way up in that kind of thing. If it helps, that's honestly very cool. And that's what I also recommend to people all the time. You want to be a game developer, make something, right? Anybody can talk. I'm an idea guy.
Right.
F you, you're an idea guy. So am I.
Yeah.
Everybody's an idea.
Everyone has ideas.
My mailman has some great ideas on, especially on how often mechs fall down. He wants to tell me about. But anyway, so do get an editor and make stuff, because as a designer, that's your audition piece. You could say, here, I made these 3 things. Take a look. This one highlights this type of combat or this type of interaction, etc. All right, well, let's keep going. What else do we got here? Since arriving here, what's been the toughest design challenge that you've faced?
I think, so I'm a huge BattleTech fan.
Yeah.
Just overall.
Ryan's got the Mech Commander manuals on his desk.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing back some memories.
Yeah, I've got this little stack. It's the Mech Commander manuals, both from 1 and 2. It's like the PC Gamer magazines that have the covers on them and all that kind of stuff. So, huge BattleTech fan. And so, I feel like I really understand, one of our survey questions, for those of you that played the beta, is, do you feel this has captured the spirit of BattleTech?
Right.
And I think that has been the most difficult thing, because I feel like I understand what the spirit of BattleTech is, but trying to put that into mechanics and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like we've hit that, and I feel pretty good about it. But that has been, because it's the most important thing, in my opinion. Overall, that has also been the biggest challenge. So
what kind of wins have you had so far? So things that you're personally proud of that are in the game.
I think particularly where we're at right now, I think, again, for those of you that played the beta, we've tuned some things and stuff like that, where it's not just directly from the tabletop experience. We're bringing in stuff that, are kind of notions from some of the more video game incarnations of the BattleTech universe. I think the biggest win is that overall it seems that we have hit that spirit of BattleTech goal, even though we've changed things and people have responded very constructively to how we have changed those things and still kept the spirit of BattleTech, and then the gameplay has generally improved for it. So.
Well, let me pause right there. For those of you that are playing the beta, and I assume most of you that are on this live stream with us right now or watching on YouTube are part of the beta too. If not, BattleTechGame.com, become a late backer. You can do that. And if you were a Kickstarter backer below the MechWarrior level, you can still get into the beta. Just write to us at info@hbs-studios.com and we'll help you upgrade. But I think what's really important is everybody that's been filling out surveys, thanks a lot. Those are extremely helpful. There's a metric F-ton of feedback on our forums, but it's the surveys that are very instructive to us because they can be quantified, right? So mathematics really helps. It's like, oh, wow, 100% of people don't like this or think this should change. So that's a big deal, right? But please don't stop filling out your surveys. We've got easily 20,000 responses so far, and they're really helpful. But
I think it's way more than that.
Yeah. Well, I've been out of town at E3. Hey! Back from E3, and my arms are tired. It's kind of grueling going down to E3 and back. But anyway, so please keep filling out those surveys. We really appreciate them. The team obviously reads the hell out of them, and thanks for the feedback on the forums. We'll talk more about that in a minute. So that's basically the who is Ryan Burrell, blah, blah, blah sort of portion. So got a bunch of questions here from the forums. And by the way, thanks for your feedback from last time. I've actually got the names of the different people asking the questions, so reading those off too. In no particular order, here we go. Karaminde, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Correct me later. So, how is it that you lost to Ek? What is that? Why are you not at the top of the leaderboard? What is wrong with you? What's your major damage?
I'd like to think that it's because I was so busy
I would actually like to think so, too.
Doing my job that I didn't have time, to play in this little,
tourney
measuring contest.
Yeah.
No,
we got to work on that.
No. Serious thing is that Ek and I did play. And it was I think he would back me up on this. We played one evening from home when we were testing out some of the stuff. And it was a fairly grueling match. And he beat me fair and square.
How did he do it? I mean, was it that he made a better play, or did you make a mistake?
I think it was a little bit of both. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think there was one, and this, going back to victories, I think is kind of a victory for how the game has ended up, is that there wasn't, for two people who are competent players,
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
you know, it was a thing where it wasn't like one big event
Right,
really
right.
screwed me over
Yeah.
or clinched victory for
Yeah.
him. It was the thing where it was like, well, I made this gambit and it didn't quite pay off.
Right,
I
right.
took advantage of it, but then I had a thing where like then it could have gone well for me, but then the RNG was against me.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. No, I had
Yeah.
that experience too. And when I, me being at the bottom of the leaderboard, Ek being at the top, when we finally went at it, I was really trying, and he absolutely trounced me in every way, shape, and form. But the funny part was, that after every single move that I made, I went, shit, that was the wrong move. Every time, just like, oh, God, I screwed that up. I actually got much better after playing him.
Yeah.
So I want another shot at the title.
I also like to think that his, like, however old he is, like 20 plus years of BattleTech experience.
He's 41.
Yeah, he's older than I am. So,
That makes me double secret older than you. Pack Riot asks, what was the most, what aspect of tabletop was the most challenging to capture in Spirit?
I think so. There's a lot of things about tabletop that are the thing about tabletop is that, so you and I are sitting playing. We're having
Right.
we're having drinks, beers, whatever,
Yeah, not this swill. What is this? No offense to our sponsors. That's sarsaparilla. This isn't even alcoholic. I don't even.
This one's still
understand.
frozen, so it certainly
I'm not
can't be
going
alcoholic.
anywhere. All right, keep going.
Anyway, so I've played a lot of tabletop systems and stuff in general,
sure.
and the thing, there's a lot that tabletop games can kind of, I don't want to say get away with, but you can fudge on because
Well,
like,
our experience together, the social
Yes.
experience, augments it.
right. That is a huge thing that is really hard to account for in what is still going to be predominantly a single player experience, or best case scenario, you and I are in completely different rooms somewhere else doing whatever. So there's a lot of things that have different meaning when you're playing the tabletop game. So
That's
like,
interesting.
well, like a particular action through the power of technology that would take place in the tabletop game where I'm rolling this for a crit, or I'm rolling this to see if this check has succeeded or failed or whatever.
Right.
Like all that just gets done in an instant.
Right.
And because I don't get to see what's happening to you,
Right.
then the import of all of that is
Right.
lost,
The experience is, I see the number as 47%.
right.
Like, okay. And then I may move or do something. It's like, no, it's 53. It's like, okay, that's the difference between 47 and 53.
Right.
And if we're not sitting together, and you don't see me rolling the dice, and then there's the drama
Exactly.
of rolling the dice.
Yeah, for anyone that's watched, DFA, like that's at least half, if not more, of the fun of watching it is not just the watching the skill of people playing the game, but it's watching all of what's happening around.
Right,
the
right,
interactions
and all the
between
contributing information.
Exactly. So I think that has been the most difficult thing to try and account for,
Yeah.
that fun factor, and then make it fit.
Right.
Our,
And so, just as a global statement about our design philosophy, for lack of a better word, it's not just about that number going up and down, incrementing. It's about making the player take strong choice, giving the player clear choices, right? That are kind of dramatic choices that can change the game back and forth, right? And so that's part of what contributes to making a modern, turn-based tactical.
a phrase that the design team uses all the time, every day is this interesting? And that is kind of the metric.
An interesting choice.
Yeah.
Sid Meier said that. Sid Meier, who did Civilization and Sid Meier's Pirates and all sorts of stuff. That was his big thing. Games are a series of interesting choices.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So the choice of, if I do this, it goes from 47 to 53 may not be the most interesting choice, out there. All right, we're gonna keep going then. Barantor, hey, thanks for chiming in. Oh, by the way, McCain's gonna jump in here. Look.
Okay.
Let's see.
Try not to break
Good, maybe.
Try not to. McCain's here back from Scrum. Hey, all right, so we're still on the
do you want a
questions.
soda?
What's that?
Do you want a soda?
Don't touch the soda.
I would love a soda.
Oh, fuck.
A cool and refreshing soda.
Here's a spiffy
Sounds
cola for
delightful
your
right
spiffy
now.
haircut.
Yeah.
Oh.
Good luck for that. So we're still in the questions for the forums.
Oh, cool.
Right. All right, and this is for Bodhi
Everything
now.
Ryan said is wrong.
He was brilliant. So good luck.
Oh.
See you at evaluation time.
That's awesome.
So here's a question for you: is
It's like
what was
bits of ice in this stuff.
Oh, let me try now.
Not bad.
You know where I've been. Okay, that's better than I expected it to be. Your turn, or
Sure.
really?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know.
We're all here. It's being recorded.
So for Bodias, what beta feedback? Don't look at the fucking screen. You're gonna get distracted. Right there. Now it's not. All right. What feedback from the beta might have surprised you? Didn't like it?
It's like great, but not great.
It's almost great.
It's
yeah.
spiffy.
Okay.
What feedback from the beta surprised you?
Well, I don't know. Ryan's in the hot seat, so.
Yeah, oh, sure. Now I wander in.
So to completely invalidate my skill as a designer, I think that what has been most surprising. Someone asked this on Twitter actually, and it was the same question, so I'll give the same response.
Okay.
Is that very little of it has actually been what I would call surprising. It's all been very interesting.
Sure.
But it's a lot of it is things that we thought, well, maybe this is tuned too high or
Right.
tuned low, or a lot of it is very validating. And
Right,
so
right.
that was the most surprising to me, is that the players felt a lot like how we felt about a lot of things, but we wanted to put stuff out there to test it, and that's how it came
that's
back.
the focus of the beta, right?
Yep.
Is to get it out there and get qualitative feedback that we can then quantify. Oh, you see what I did there?
Yeah.
Right? Into action. So that's
a lot of
interesting.
Sound
speak
like we're
there.
real game designers.
Oh, well, look, I have sat near
Sorry,
real
I'm adding
game
no
designers.
value to this.
I think you're doing great.
QA.
And I'm kidding about you doing great. Go ahead. What were you going to add to that?
Just how much in general I feel like people have been enjoying it and having fun, and I don't mean to say, oh, I was surprised because I thought it would suck, but you're always really nervous.
Yeah.
Nervous
going
is a
into
nice way of
release,
putting it. We were
so,
scared shitless a little bit.
nervous, cautiously optimistic.
That's for sure.
So for me, it was just great to see. Okay, there's things that people are pointing out. There's useful data that we're getting.
Yeah, right.
Useful sort of anecdotal play experiences, but by and large, to have such a supportive response was really encouraging.
Oh, that was huge. I'll tell you something. I've made games that I knew people didn't want, and that is much harder than making games where there's people out there actually waiting for it and are excited.
I
by
made a
it.
Duck Dynasty game once.
And we're moving on.
Yep.
So Spartacus asks, how have the last couple of weeks been for you, and what surprised you most? Oh, well, that's actually the same question. And how has it been for us? Rewarding, I think, and validating in many ways. And then it makes us also thoughtful. We won't, explicitly say, oh, here's what we've learned or anything like that, but we're definitely learning. And the trick is, like I said before, keep filling out those surveys because we want to see how the answers change over time with the game, too. That's very important to us. And that's why you'll see us not making knee-jerk changes to the game either. All right, moving on.
I've been sleeping more. That's been nice.
Yeah. And in terms of the, I'm sorry, I want to name this person. Acolyte asks, are you getting useful feedback from the beta threads? I'll say absolutely. And what's going on is exactly what we hoped for, which is not so much engaging with us and debating with us. That does no good. That's just us versus them or people trying to convince us. That's BS. It's not interesting or really helpful to anybody. Instead, it's when y'all debate each other, right? Or pick an idea apart, and we get to see all sorts of different perspectives, right? So it's not just the loudest voice talking to us, right? Then we can see all the different angles. And like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Oh, that's interesting. We'll need to do that. So the more you guys talk to each other on the forums, the more helpful it is to us, right? But by the way, I just want to make this point. Going to the Ask the Devs forum to ask us to defend a design decision. Actually, we're not going to answer that. That's not what that forum's for. It's about picking our brains about what's coming next, or about game development, etc. Or
if you need clarification on how
a
thing is working.
Absolutely. Then you can go back and debate it. But that's what that forum's for. Just want to make sure, and also read the facts. Appreciate it. Okay, gonna keep going. We got a question about beta. It says, okay, this comes from Kathy. Hey, Kathy, nice to see a question from you. It's often the case that beta testers' ideas have already been talked about and discarded as not in keeping with the developer's plan. or for being impractical or time-consuming? Has any of the beta testers' input made you rethink or want to adjust certain combat systems? You don't have to be specific, but, you know.
I think that it's hard for me to point to specific things.
I don't want you to, so that's good.
Well, I mean, so one of the things that we acknowledged coming up to the beta release was, all right, we're going to have some reaction time. Like some of things that were previously maybe in our development queue, you know, we're going to wait and see how the beta does first. Right. So what we're really trying to do is get a solid, holistic understanding of what's going on and what are hot topics, and that tends to be my view of it over like, oh, people don't like this specific system,
let's
or
change
people
this.
think this should change to X. Ryan uses the word interesting a lot. I've noticed it's a very interesting, but I think it's a really good word to describe feedback and ideas, because that's the start of a conversation. That's not a conclusion, right? Like it's interesting. There's material here that we should talk about more and dive deeper into, but interesting doesn't prescribe a judgment call yet. So
because
so that's kind of where we're at. There's a lot of
totally
interesting data, both data and feedback, right? Like we've got the survey data, which is by now very like large enough that we can actually draw some meaningful statistics out of it, which is actually somewhere that we've never been before as a studio. So that's exciting. And then in addition to the data, we also have the feedback, monitoring conversations on the forums. Just watching like YouTubers play the game is quite informative.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Oh, absolutely. And then the other thing is you have to look at all of this within a continuum. We'll probably talk about this later too. But we exercise something called agile game development, right? Where we have a big stack of stuff to do, and we've got a pretty good idea how long each thing will take. And every time we come up with something new to do, like, oh, we should take this feedback or whatever, it's slotted in from a prioritization point of view on where it should be in a continuum with other stuff. That's why we don't just make sort of knee-jerk reactions to feedback, because it's all based on that continuum, both, you know, what other things we have to do that's more important, but also from a timing point of view, from a chronology point of view, oh, gee, we need to get this piece of feedback into the game sooner rather than later because it has a cascading effect. And there's all sorts of complications and judgments that we have to apply, and that's part of the fun of game development.
4D thinking.
Yes, thank you, bravo. Let's see. What else we got here? Question about Mech Warriors, which you did a lot of work on the Mech Warriors. Can you expand on Mech Warriors development over time? Can you assign points to gunnery and piloting and stuff like that? Can they have more than one special ability? So just talk about pilot progression as you know it today.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very important caveat there. Yes to all those things. You can sink more points into Mech Warriors as they have gained more experience. We're currently operating with, yes, they'd be able to have more than one special ability going forward. I don't... the ones that you purchase are going to have some things preset because that's running through our... I don't know if they've talked a lot in the past about the specifics of the life path system and that kind of thing. Maybe that's jargon for us.
Oh, you know, we procedurally generate a wide variety of Mech Warriors, each with their own unique sort of background that determines their starting skill or skill ratings, at least, and any other attributes that they have. And then they will continue to grow with your company from that point onwards.
So when you're going to hire someone, you'll be looking at those things and then kind of seeing like where they already have points in, and then estimating from that, where do I want to train this employee effectively? How do I want to skill them up down the road? So.
And can they have more than one special ability?
Yes.
All right. Well, there's a direct answer asked and answered. Okay, got to keep going here, and then I think where are we? We're at
3 is
we're
our
at, we're at
current.
Yes.
Oh, thanks.
Our current goal is up to 3, so mech warriors would have from 0 to 3 abilities.
Right.
1 and 2 would be sort of the common range, and 3 would be your
Elites.
veteran that's been around for
Old
quite a while.
dogs, yeah, one-eyed guys. All right, it's 12:30. I'm going to go to the chat in just a minute. Going to get out like 1 or 2 more questions, and then we'll bounce back and forth. Mike, let's switch seats. It'll be a lot
You don't
easier.
want me reading the chat?
That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Excuse us. Yeah, right across my lap, buddy. Go ahead, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
Interesting.
Oh. Thanks. You're lighter than Weissman. That's good. So
I will say, this is quite the swell cola drink.
By the way, his hairstyle is your hairstyle. Check this out. Can you see that? There you go.
Oh,
Look
that's
at
kind
that.
of true.
Yeah. Now compare. That's uncomfortable. Let's see. 1 or 2 more questions. How quickly will injured pilots heal in the campaign mode? This comes from Ghost Rider, by the way. Back in Mech Commander 1, pilots used to regain a dot of health for every mission played. Thanks for reminding me of that. I forgot that. But anyway, pilot health, how long is that, healing? Does that take a long time? Any idea how that works?
Several weeks, yeah. If you're
Yeah.
if you're severely injured,
Right, depends on the number of injuries you have.
There's different things that can accelerate that, as I understand it.
There's also the concept, I don't want to get existential here, but what time means, because there's the amount of time numerically that it's going to show, but then there's also like the time in terms of what you're going to be doing while this is happening. So like it may take you a week to get from jump point to next location.
Right.
And so whatever you've done in that point
Yeah.
will be the time that those mech warriors may have healed.
Right.
And this is all the stuff that Kiva and AJ are hard at work on right now, putting all those systems together. So, time is always your enemy in the campaign game.
And in game development.
And in life.
There's been an uncomfortable number of times, I have to say, where we've been talking about a particular feature on the sim game, and somebody has to go, wait, are we talking about the game, or are we talking about the project?
Yeah. Little rough. Well, here, let's take
But
this
anyways,
as a segue. Go
so
ahead.
you can be doing, so in the campaign, time progresses, and then all of the things like your mech warriors are healing, and your mechs that you've queued up work for are being repaired, and you're
Like being
traveling to
refitted
the
and
next
stuff like that.
system, and so part of playing the campaign well is managing your time effectively. So,
Bravo.
choosing whether you want to wait for your veteran mech warrior to heal up to go on the mission, or deciding whether it's more important to go on the mission sooner so that you get the money sooner. That sort of trade-off.
Right. And so that means that BattleTech is going to be a very interesting time management training system that for enterprise, people at Microsoft, for example, can pass that along, and that's how you train time management. And if anybody out there, you mech commanders, have any kids, this is also a good way of getting them trained up on time management as well. So
straight from the time management experts at HBS.
Yeah, it's been a long time since you had the Learning Company games,
Yeah.
and so now we don't have super solvers anymore and that kind of thing. So this is our entry into that market.
Nice.
All right. Well, in the interest of time, I was going to show the Argo video again, but I don't think we will. It's going to take a little too long. I want to get to as many questions as we can. It's
so cool.
I think 12:34. It is damn cool. Just click a little bit of it, Chris. Can you? Just a little. All right. We're going to talk over this. We'll take your questions because it's going to be silent, right, Chris?
No. I can turn the.
Oh, that's okay. I talked over it at E3. You can talk over it again.
So we talk over John all the time.
So I'm gonna go to chat, get some questions, then occasionally if there's a lull or something, I'll go back to your questions from the forum. So don't worry. All right, gentlemen, here we go. And by the way, I see you're doing it, and I love you for it. Please put in big all caps questions so I can easily find your questions in the forums. And then of course you may have to re-enter your question because this thing scrolls mighty fast, and if my finger slips, we're gone. CRL 1981 question: during the campaign, is it possible that we will face mechs that are already partially damaged?
Yes.
Poorly maintained, I think is the right word.
Yes, there is specifically an effect called poorly maintained. So.
Yeah, and so some people might have little holes in their armor that you can exploit. Koshelkin asks, do we have a release date? The answer is no. Next question. Crown Lord... Oh, damn you. God, this is hard. All right. Terror Jester says, have you thought about a VR development? Yes, thought about it. Moving on. Think about a lot of things. We're not doing that. In success, all things are possible, and some things are more possible than others.
I didn't pitch you my battle space idea in VR. No.
Zolan, Xolin.
Hard pass.
Yes.
Zolan asks, hey, Mitch is gonna hate this, and that's why we should definitely answer it first. Rough ETA for a patch, week, month, 3 days. Not looking, just looking for a ballpark.
Little crystal ball tells me sometime in the next week-ish.
There you go, right? And then, you know, multiplayer update later on, right? Question, will we be able, this comes from the Otter. That's tough. Will we be able to create custom pilots?
Accepting you as your character in the campaign.
Well, you can customize your pilot. First of all, you can rename your mech warrior.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
if you want to make your streaming crew of, you know, you can rename them, you can change their portrait, you can change their voice set, and then once you hire them, you can customize them over time by
training
choosing
them.
where their skill points go.
Yeah. So there you go. But that's that. All right. Let's see. Mechsae, Mechsae asks, how robust is the paint scheme system for mechs? You love the word robust. We use that all the
do
time
like
here.
that word.
Go ahead, robust. How robust?
It's robust-ish.
I say
I don't
interesting a
know.
lot. You say ish.
Yeah, that's true.
You equivocate quite a bit.
Right now, we have a variety of paint schemes available for each mech in the game. The paint scheme doesn't dictate colors; it dictates placement. So
Where the color goes
it dictates
on the mech.
where your primary color goes, what kind of stripes or shapes are involved. Like we've got everything from like a cool like predator look to like a drippy. I think our concept artist called it like Phantasm or something. No, not actually that, but it was inspired by that. So there's a wide variety of paint schemes, and then those schemes take your primary and secondary and tertiary color and apply them, and you can customize that definitely for your company and most likely for individual mechs as well. And then the last step is that each mech has some different placement options for your company emblem. And so you can choose that, you know, whether you want the big, like, super graphic of your logo on the chest of the mech, or whether you want the classy shoulder patch, or there's, I think, 3 or 4 different placement
I just want my
options.
big wolf, winter is coming, sort of. I meant clan wolf
there
is
you go.
coming. But that's for another day. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Sorry, just trying to find questions. Lugeron. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. Nice to you. Why did Red Menace not play against Mitch? You want to explain that?
Well,
Is
so
there something I should know, guys?
so really
You should
early.
know that he never faced me.
Here's why. So really early on, Mitch came to me and said, "I don't want to lose anymore. Teach me." And so I gave you information.
You did.
I couldn't bring myself to
then just kick my ass.
just devastate my student, you know. At that point.
That's the way it works. That's what you do to students. You. Well, I tell you what.
And also by that point in time, I was scared, you know, because you were at the bottom of the rankings. And,
Yeah, you didn't want to lose
and I
your
didn't,
ego
and I didn't want to
to-
slide all
yeah,
the way down.
Exactly, that would have been bad. So fear is what kept you away. That's what I heard.
Utter fear.
Clown
I'm
Warlord.
sensing a live stream event. Maybe a beard
off. I
Yeah.
knew you were going there. When will we see Mitch play versus Jordan? The answer to that is probably our beta bash when multiplayer is released and we go on HyperRPG, twitch.tv/HyperRPG. You'll probably see the 2 old men go at it, which will be very amusing. It's sort of like Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi going real slow. Yeah, you should
You know,
not have
somebody,
come, Darth.
like, there was a whole thread trying to retcon, like, why they were fighting slow. Like, somebody said, like... No, this was, like, a theory that went around the internet a couple months ago. It was, like, they both aren't really fighting because, like, Vader knows that,
Right.
Is this like the Jar Jar Binks is Darth Sidious?
Yeah,
theory?
it was that kind of theory.
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
No, the answer... Never mind. I'm not going to... That's a different IP. Let's move on. Let's stay on ours. Let's see. Winter Quiet asks, will there be larger than Lance versus Lance battles? The answer is no. Thank you. We've been clear about that for a year and a half. Let's see. When can we expect campaign features? This comes from Traith Gaming. When can we expect campaign features to be more fully showcased? The generic answer is when we have them showcaseable. It's really that. It's just a matter of time. So stay with us. We will tell you when we're going to show cool stuff.
I think the E3 video is actually a good example of that.
Yeah.
Showing
we
stuff as it's able to.
Yeah. Now what we did there, I love that answer, by the way. And what we did there is, geez, it feels like a year ago. We put out a Kickstarter update showing the concept for how we navigate the inside of the Argo.
That
right,
was
in
like a
black
year,
and
yeah.
white, right? And then so our Kickstarter backers saw all our characters, right? And they saw exactly how we were going to implement the Argo, and then they saw, okay, and here's what it looks like implemented just now. That's why I was really happy to show that at E3, because all of our backers had that a year in advance. So thank you for backing the game. Hope you were satisfied with that. So you'll see.
It also, like, a lot of it comes down to how something can be effectively showed. Like, so the campaign game, for example, we've got a lot of stuff working that we're iterating on, but A, there's sort of a bug threshold that we have to clear, and B, we've got a pretty big list of UI that we need to create for the game to, like, there's a lot of stuff that's like, it's working, but you can't really see it working, and so until we get some of that UI in place, it's hard to really, it would be hard to really talk through or demo or show you guys without, like, a ton of, don't worry, this is happening right here, kind of thing.
Well, don't worry, we'll show you. I mean, it's in our best interest to show you, right? You got to keep the information flowing. The spice must flow. All right, let's see. Monkey asks, how concerned are you over the announcement of two big titles such as Total Warhammer, and the XCOM expansion slated in August and September? Not nervous at all or concerned at all. Welcome to game development. Somebody is always going to come out with a game near yours and stuff like that. Sometimes right on top of you and create blast.
I was actually being a huge tactics turn-based gamer myself, I was actually encouraged to see some of that stuff coming out, because it's like, obviously other people with more resources than we have gone, people really like a few more really like turn-based games, and so maybe that's going to be a fun thing for people to do.
Well, it was great at E3 backstage before the PC Gamer event, because Jordan and I are standing there with the guy from XCOM and the guy from Total Warhammer, right? We're like, so what do you guys show? It's like, oh, we're going to tell our release date. Like, what is it? We're like, yeah, that's what I thought you'd say. All right, fine. Yeah, that's cool. So are we concerned about it? No, we make our plan. We plan for improvisation. Does that make sense? Let's see what else we got. Oh, if I do it this way, I could actually see the questions. This is nice. Wookie Mart asks a common question. Will the UI be scalable?
Yeah.
All right, good answer.
Well, what do we mean by scalable?
Hold on, I'm going. As soon as I find Wookie, there it is. To get it out of the way when playing on super wide screens, 2560 times.
Oh, that kind of scalable.
Yeah.
I mean,
you could say reply hazy, ask again later. Or by the game we'll find out. Let's see. Cricket 2814 asks, have we decided on a final price for the finished product? No, you know what we need to do? Have a finished product so we can determine value. And also, that's one of the great things about working with Paradox, right, who've been in business publishing for quite a while, have all sorts of really interesting data, business intelligence, and stuff like that. And have really also learned a lot of valuable lessons by making mistakes. And that's what I like about those guys. I had dinner with them at E3, and a lot of the conversation was about them talking about the mistakes they've made in the past and what they've learned, which that's the first publisher I've ever met that's done something like that. So I was actually pretty impressed. So the answer to that is
it's
not
because
yet.
No other publishers have ever made mistakes.
That is true, including me when I was a publisher for many years. Yeah. And for the people that I published, I apologize. Sorry about that. For some reason, it says confirm Mitch is Indiana Jones. I don't understand that. Question, are you going to be at PAX West? No, we are not going to be at PAX West. WW2 Ogre says, should I keep filling out surveys after 87 hours of gaming? I find I'm saying exactly the same thing over and over.
If your data is normalized, it's fine to stop. What we're looking for is the trend line of the data over time.
Ferrote, I'm not sure I pronounced that right at all.
But thank you for
Yes,
all that feedback.
First of all, 87 hours? Thank you.
I hope it was still fun.
87 hours. You think you got your money's worth? Jeez. I played Gears of War for 10 hours total. So, hooray. And that was $60. Let's see. Will Mech Warriors, forgive me, this comes from Zorba Wisdom, which I love. Will Mech Warriors have different costs to hire based on their skills and experience?
Yep.
Let's see what else we got here. Oh, here, I'm going to switch over to here real fast while you guys repost some stuff.
And it's actually not a cost, it's a salary. So you bring Mech Warriors onto your payroll, and that counts against your total monthly burn rate for your talking about the game here.
What's great is after you've played our mercenary campaign, you'll have a better idea of what my life is like on a day-to-day basis, and you'll cry, because I do. All the time. Now I lay me down to sleep and cry myself. All right. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So here's a question back to you, Ryan Burrell. What do you call Red Menace on the forums? This comes from White Hawk. White Hawk is cool. What exactly does piloting do in the beta? And what will it do in the release?
Currently, what piloting does is it determines your chance to hit with a melee attack, or if you want to try a DFA if you've got jump jets equipped. What it will do is it will more drastically impact the thresholds at which you become unsteady. So basically, the better your piloting skill is, the longer that you can soak stability damage before you're even in threat of falling down.
So the comments that we get all the time that mechs fall down a lot will be adjusted at the very least by that. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'm going back to chat for a minute, and I'll bounce back to the paper. This is fun. Ferrote, I was going to ask that question for you. FHEROET, forgive me if I pronounced that wrong. Will there be a co-op campaign, or will multiplayer be PvP only? Mike?
Multiplayer at launch is PvP only. I'd say of all post-launch features we've talked about, co-op is one of the ones that a lot of people are most excited about internally. So if it's something that we can do post-launch, we'd love to do it.
You know what it'll require?
All things.
It requires success. If the game doesn't sell, it's not getting much.
Any co-op would take the form of missions that you can run with your friend.
Probably not a co-op.
It's not like
campaign.
a co-op campaign. Now it could be like a series of 4 separate missions, and you can play through them one after the other.
And then there's just co-op skirmish too.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Good answer. Good answer. Hold on. WW2 Ogre, you just wrote. I did. I'm going to go on to somebody else for a minute. Floyd underbar CZ asks. Oh, wow. Thanks for staying up late for us. PvP will be with more 6 versus 6 or 8 versus 8 in the future.
In the future,
the future is
not going to strictly rule it out, but that's not really on our radar at this point.
Yeah. You know what we've got to do? Finish this game. Doesn't that sound great? We get asked all the time about the future. It's like, the future? Man, let's talk next milestone, please. No, really, let's talk next
So
milestone.
we're not going to start development on the
after.
Solaris 7 stable management simulator right now?
No.
No. Okay.
Let's see. Parazane, dig it, asks, one of the fantastic things about your Shadowrun series was the community modding scene. Any future plans for modding support? This is a question we've been asked many times, and we have a very standard question, which is we are not giving you modding tools for this game. That took almost an entire man-year on the Shadowrun games just to deliver those, but we're not going to stop you from modding either.
Yeah. Shadowrun, like, there's different... Not all modding is created equal. Like, Shadowrun was a very different content creation pipeline.
It was built for that.
And, you know, the whole game from the ground is a 2D engine. You can represent that easily outside of Unity.
It wasn't really modding at that point. Like
that was content creation. Yeah. And so we actually provided those tools. On BattleTech, you know, it's a completely different beast as far as the type of content that we're creating. And that said, other types of modding I've seen are already catching on like wildfire.
Yes.
In the last 2 weeks, and so that kind of thing, we're have at it.
Yeah, we love the invention and the ingenuity. It's pretty damn cool. Let's see. What do we got here? Deranged Imp just asked, will a map editor be out of the question? Out of the question's a little too... That's like the word never or always, so never say never, but we have no plans for that, as we just talked about. Let's see. What else we got here? Crowbar Samurai asked, in the current build, will abilities be available to pilots based on their stats, meaning a warrior with low piloting won't be able to access the evasion ability?
That's how they're set up right now, but it's all curated right now. There's no system behind the scenes that's affecting that, but that's effectively how they're
The idea is you get to Gunnery 4 and you get to unlock one of the Gunnery abilities at that skill level.
Okay, cool. Let's see. A question here from Gulk the Bloody. God, I love this stuff. Like, will we see melee weapons like the X-Men? Not in this game, not in this release of the game.
Yes, Hatchet Man would be a post-launch. Sorry, Eck.
Sorry, Jordan. It's like one of the first things he says. Wouldn't it be cool if it's like, oh my God.
The number of times that I've wanted to screenshot our Trello board where we have Hatchet Man in all caps sitting underneath one of the columns just for giggles, but I haven't done that.
So
the column is post-launch.
We know you want the Hatchet Man and the Axe.
Many of us want it as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wanting things, as I say to my children, is good.
Yes.
It's good to want things. So there we go. Let's see. Getting right to the bottom here. DSKOU7. I don't know what it... Will the Banshee 3S make it into the game?
Is that the good one?
I'm going to assume it's the good one.
We have a Banshee, but I couldn't tell you which variant.
Yeah. If Tyler were here, he'd know the answer to that.
I feel like I should know because it's all set up in that sheet.
And by the way,
that's what computers are for.
If in here you're asking questions that are actually feedback to us disguised as a question, I'm moving on. So just to let you know, it's like, are you going to make this not suck? We're going to move on from that question. Let's see, what else we got here? Will Bithron asks, will we be able to train our mech warriors before missions?
We've talked about like a training simulator thing that you could put mech warriors in. I don't know where that is on our sort of...
I guess it depends on what you mean by train before.
Right.
Like, because since mech warriors will
like grind with a mech warrior, I'm guessing.
So I mean, there's going to be like the SimPod thing, and I forget exactly how that's intended to be working, but I think that's a passive sort of deal where it's not an action that's performed. But like you would be able, if you have like a pool of accumulated XP, you would be able to spend that to level up your mech warriors before they go on a mission, if that's what they're asking.
So I think the answer is yes.
Broadly, yeah.
We win. The answer is yes.
Okay.
Right. Based on Ryan's answer. There we go. The Zenak has asked this several times. Sorry I haven't gotten to it yet. What do you guys think, and do you know of the community-created scenarios being developed in Discord and the forums? You aware of that?
I'm not.
Claire, what's a scenario?
Well, like, they're actually changing starting locations and stuff like that, I believe. That kind of thing.
Didn't think you could do that.
Maybe you can give it... So the quick answer is, doesn't sound like it. Make a thread in the forum so it can pop up a little bit and we can see that more. Don't put it in Ask the Devs, but just make it so that we can find it. We would really appreciate it. We're definitely interested. And of course, I got to say this also. We're very active on the forums. We're morons for being so active on the forums, but we love you. But we're morons because we actually have to make the game too. So we try and do it at lunch and when I'm having my morning coffee and stuff like that. So we can't see every single thing, but believe me, the mods often send us links. Hey, you should probably check this stuff out. So yeah, just post it up there and see what happens. Question, will we be able to take contracts from the Lord Commander? No. Next, well... You know, Tyler. Maybe. No. Ranger Graves didn't put the word question in front of Ranger Graves' question, but asked, are beards a requirement to work at your company? And the answer on behalf of all the women in our company is no. Okay. Let's see. Wookie Mart asked one more question. That's a layup that I think is a good one that we should ask. Why is there such a big, I'll use the word disparity, between the tabletop damage and the damage in our game, right? Because our games is basically 5x. Why is that? Because for a lot of you that missed that before, it's a pretty easy answer. Okay.
Well,
for
great.
someone,
yes.
I say it's easy.
Well, there's two things at play. There's the multiplier from tabletop values, which anytime you have a larger set of numbers, you have the ability to have more granularity in them.
Right,
so
exactly.
That individual actions, you can have more of them, or whatever.
Or if we need to do any fine tuning.
Exactly. Right. So that's one reason. And then the other thing that's probably part of that question is like, why are they different from tabletop?
Well, before you do that, the other element is we've got all of these stores where you can purchase different weapons from different manufacturers also, and that allows us to get variants by manufacturer as well and differentiate them as well.
Right, because when you make more of something, then necessarily each one of them has to mean less, and so that's the way it works with points of damage. So then we have more wiggle room for interesting variants and that kind of thing.
Right. All right. Coolio. Let's see. The safe thread is collecting scenarios. Thanks, pal. Getting back to here for a minute, I'm going on to this page. What do we got here? Let's see. This is about salvage and mech lab. Maybe see what we got here. This comes from Ghost Rider. Will it be possible to take off individual weapon systems from a destroyed mech that would otherwise be unsalvageable?
I think the way that's supposed to be working is like basically
you won't have to do it.
Yeah, elements exist basically in one of three states. They're good, they're damaged, or they're gone.
Right.
And then if they're gone, they're
gone.
Yeah.
I got that part.
Yeah.
So when you finish a mission,
right,
depending on the salvage percentage that you negotiated up front, you'll get a report of whatever came off the battlefield. So in the example of the chassis was destroyed, but the weapons weren't, you would get a report of the weapons that you were able to salvage.
Yeah, and there's also able to salvage. So for one thing, you got to share it with your employer often. But for another thing, sometimes in BattleTech, these things are 500 years old and stuff like that. And when you're trying to take a weapon system off a mech, it can break, Colonel. And so we simulate that as well. So, there's not 100% just because it was pristine on the mech doesn't mean you're going to get it off the battlefield, too. That's us.
Salvage is an imprecise art.
Oh, wow. I didn't know there was an art to salvage, but sure, what the hell. Clown Warlord again asks, are damaged items sellable?
We were just talking about that yesterday, actually.
I think we don't really know just yet. That's one of the things that I think is subject to more economy loop testing to see if we think that that's a thing that people will need to scrape by, or if it's, again, not interesting.
So. All right. PenClick's got a question here. How will pilot progression be handled in multiplayer? Will MP be locked to specific pilots and stats for balance?
Yes, we intend to ship a large list of multiplayer pilots that expose different skill combinations. One axis that we're not planning to include in multiplayer Lance configuration is relative skill discrepancies between pilots. So what I mean by that is all pilots are at the same experience level, and then when you're configuring a Lance, just as it is in the current beta, you're configuring the C-bill value of your mechs, but you're not configuring like a C-bill value of a novice pilot versus a veteran pilot.
The conceit being that if they're all equal, then there's no interesting thing there with like changing the pricing of the mech.
Yeah, it seemed like way too much variability to effectively balance around. So we are giving you a variety of different mech warrior options, though. So at that fixed experience level, the relevant combos of this is a high gunnery, high piloting mech warrior, and so on.
Right. Well, gonna keep going here. Let's see. Question. How long? Ranger Graves asks, how long does each pilot head injury take to heal? There's no difference in head injury, etc. It's just injuries are injuries in the game. So, any idea how long they take to heal yet? So that's something that we're going to tweak over time. So
right.
Yeah, we have to actually be playing. I mean,
it'll be
critically
measured in
injured
weeks.
several weeks. Like it's not going to happen overnight.
Okay.
And the goal of that, by the way, is, we want you to emerge from a mission damaged, and then, in some cases, have to make a decision to use your green pilots because you really need to run another mission, and the guys that were injured on the, we don't want you to just camp out on your squad of the 4 best guys and just over and over again.
Got this fun. Ormus Baxter, badass, asks, are Mech Commander 1 veteran pilots making a comeback? The answer is no, because most of them weren't born yet when this game takes place. Mech Commander, I think, was 3053, and this is 3025.
Maybe their parents, their uncles.
maybe Dagger's mom will make an appearance or something like that, but no. Let's see what else. So, after the main campaign, will the rest of the inner sphere be open to travel, or will we be in the same area of space?
Same area of space. We may unlock some more territory around that area of space.
But this is a periphery game.
Yeah, we're not building the entire inner sphere yet.
Let's see. And try and make it so I can read your question. Let's see. Parazine again asks, is Solaris 7 type 1v1 arena combat mode campaign a possibility in the future? Yeah, everything's a possibility in the future. And Solaris...
You can't ask questions like that, because that's an easy answer.
That's why I took it. So I get the
Let us off the hook before we even ask the question.
Yeah.
Let's see. Demolist Knight says, can you control more than one planet? That's not exactly what this game is about. You're a mercenary, not a warlord. Right? So you're not the Lord Commander flying into Zathras and saying this planet is mine now. You're a ragtag mercenary band traveling around the periphery, taking what jobs you can, and also working for Lady Kamea Arano to try and get her throne back. But
so you control one badass spaceship and up to 18 readyable mechs and as many chassis as you want in passive storage.
A couple of leopards too, right?
Yeah, well, and you have a leopard dropship to make drops into orbit. The Restoration controls multiple planets, and that is an anaxy of their progress through the story campaign. Is the number of planets that the Restoration has either liberated or persuaded to their cause.
So I got this question on the forums, I think today, but it's worth answering here. Are there any plans, and this comes from Ghost Rider in the Sky, are there any plans for increasing the number of mech internal components that could be damaged?
Increasing the number.
Right, gyros and things like that. Right. I thought there was a list of things we were thinking. I mean, we have, it goes into the continuum of
right. There's a pretty extensive list of potential gear stuff that is not just weaponry.
Right.
And so those are things that you could add on and that kind of thing. And so a lot of those are still being, I guess, vetted for combat impact and that kind of thing to see if we find that they're interesting to include. I'm kind of impressed.
Just open up another one and go.
Because it was all thick and syrupy.
It's delicious.
Okay. Thick and syrupy.
It was that natural, the natural cane sugar ones are always way better.
Speaking of time management, it's 1:03. We're actually late.
Okay.
I'm gonna get a couple more questions out real fast, and then we're gonna go, actually make the game. Sad Sadius asks, can we throw money at you so our dreams can come true? Yes. That's at MitchGit on Twitter, and you can personally
send them
what?
to the Kickstarter part if you lost money.
No, that's my person. Dude, get with the joke. Yeah, go to BattleTechGame.com, and actually, if you go to BackerKit, that's where you could upgrade. But you can also get into our bagel fund, and you can throw money at us by keeping us in bagels when we're crunching.
Pumpernickel is my favorite, if anyone was interested.
Oh, so. Okay, good. Yeah, thanks. That was, well, right here, the next question. Devil Crayon asks, what's taped to the back of that iPad? And it says Square in my wife's handwriting. I don't know.
This is the iPad that has the Square Cash app installed so that we can take transactions from people at
shows.
That's
absolutely correct. That's exactly what it is. All right, thank you for that. Let's get something else actually about the video game. When are we getting the Archer? No answer to that. My answer is no answer. Let's see. Cricket 2814 asks, will taking contracts against great houses affect the relationship to you?
So it depends on the contract. By default, though, the reputation impact of a contract is that you gain reputation upon successful completion with the client. So there's sort of a, well, mercenaries are mercenaries, they're doing their job thing. Now, specific contracts might incur a negative reputation bonus. Like if it's a contract to assassinate like some nephew of the Kurita family, then that might incur a reputation penalty. But by default, it's just about the reputation that you gain by succeeding.
All right, I'm just going to take one last question because we're over time, and we should also eat eventually, too. Let's see.
All the sustenance we need, right?
Yeah, this is it. Boom. Just sugar and more
Liquid
sugar.
diet.
Will it be possible to buy a mech outright, or do you have to survive completely on salvage?
You can buy mechs.
Chassis.
Yeah, you can buy, but it's limited by availability, right?
Right.
So, and that is another thing that will cause you to want to travel and not just camp out in one place.
Right,
But
yeah,
different store might only have like one or two mech
chassis.
chassis.
And we do have
available.
the concept of rarity of different chassis as well.
There may be
so.
special. You can get one of these things,
Exactly.
and that's it, and it's
Right.
going away. And if you
Yeah.
leave the system, you come back, it's not there. All right. Well, it is 1:06 p.m. here in the Pacific Northwest, where we just love it. There
The
are
sun still
mountains.
hasn't come out
No,
yet.
sun, no. But that's okay because we're going back to our cave and making more BattleTech. Again, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your questions. Appreciate it. We'll find you on BattleTechGame.com. That's BattleTechGame.com. BattleTechGame.com. Thank you for your support. See ya.
Later, guys.